be seated, unless you are a young person who would like to go to children's church. We have just the thing for you. Because I'm going to talk about sin. Oh. I'm going to talk about forgiveness. Last week we talked about sin, and we kind of defined sin and said what it is and what it is not. Today we're going to go the step further and talk about forgiveness. I think the hardest thing for us as humans to do when we become Christians is to become Christ-like in one thing. We can be pretty good givers. We can be pretty good, generous people to the poor sometimes, to the imprisoned sometimes. We can be nice. We think we can be nice, and we can comfort people and that kind of thing. But I think the hardest part of the Christian life for most people, and myself included, is the very main message of Christ: forgiveness. We have the picture of Jesus on the cross having been beaten for an entire day, bloody, bones showing, dying on the cross in the most painful way that humanity has ever invented to execute a man. And he says, "Father, forgive them." I don't know that I could say that. I don't know that I could say that because I know that there's been times that people have done a lot less to me, and it's been very, very difficult for me to forgive them. 20 years ago in Taiwan, a missionary family was sitting in their home in Taipei when suddenly masked gunmen ran into their house and started shooting. They weren't after the missionaries. In fact, they didn't even know what house they were in. They were running away from the police. They were drug dealers. And they were running away from the police, and they were about to get caught, and they found a home that the door was open, and they ran in, and this missionary family immediately lost 2 of their children, and the mother and father were shot. And that started a 12-hour standoff in which the husband and the wife are bleeding, they're in pain, they're watching their children die, not all of them, but some of them, and they begin witnessing Christ to the masked gunman. In the middle of their witnessing Christ to the masked gunman, the Taiwan police raid the room, and in the course of the raid, the police shoot a couple of other children in the missionary family, and the father again. And they don't overtake the masked gunman and have to leave the house. Eventually, the missionary, in pain and suffering, says to the masked gunman, "We love you. We don't want to see you die. Please give yourselves up." And the masked gunmen give themselves up without firing another shot. The trial is nationally broadcast because this kind of thing might be common in other countries. It is absolutely unheard of in Taiwan. It's never happened again. It didn't happen before that. And so everyone was glued to their television sets. And the verdict came down that these men were guilty. And Taiwan very happily uses the death penalty for many things, including the possession of a firearm or the possession of marijuana. And so these men were condemned to die. And on national television, in a country that is predominantly Buddhist, the Christian missionaries stood up on national television and did something that Taiwanese people to this day cannot understand. They said to the cameras, "These men have been forgiven of their sins, and we forgive them of killing our children and shooting us. And we hope to see them someday in heaven." You see, Buddhism doesn't teach forgiveness. Some people argue with me on that. Buddhism teaches forgetting. It doesn't teach forgiveness. And there's a huge difference between forgetting and forgiveness. And you say, "Michael, this sermon's supposed to be about Thanksgiving." Wait for it, okay? There's a big payoff. Just wait for it. Are we on the PowerPoint or on the easy worship? Maybe do I have power? Yeah. Okay, so here we have this picture of Thanksgiving, and the question is, if we have not forgiven someone, can we experience Thanksgiving? Let's see. Yeah. No. There we go. Or did you do that or me? Psychology Today, not known for its Christian stance. Psychology Today writes that the act of forgiveness is first and foremost for ourselves. It lets us move on from the past instead of leading bitterness and anger to perturb the emotional well-being. Carrying the hurt of our anger of an offense leads the body to release stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol. In other words, when you cannot forgive people, you keep thinking about what they did to you. And every time you do, your blood pressure goes up. Stress is put on your heart. Hormones are released into the body that makes you tense, leading to health problems. Forgiveness is not just a moral issue, it's a health issue. If we're not forgiving, we're dying. The same article goes on to say that research bears out these benefits. Forgiveness has been shown to elevate mood, enhance optimism, guard against anger, stress, anxiety, and depression. Forgiveness provides physical health benefits such as lowering the risk of high blood pressure and heart problems. Now, I have high blood pressure, no heart problems, thank goodness. I wonder if it's related to some of my not forgiving. I don't know. Of course, some people have high blood pressure because they're just old and cranky. But forgiveness adds to the health well-being, and a lack of forgiveness decreases your health. That's just the scientific part of it. We just want to start with the issue. There is a good, earthly, scientific reason why forgiveness of people that do not seek your forgiveness is healthy. Any of you ever heard that term when you're angry at somebody and they don't care? You're just letting them live rent-free in your head. They don't care if they're there or not. But you're keeping them there by not forgiving them. Forgiveness, let's say what it's not. Now, you're going to hear people say some of these things, but I'm going to tell you the Bible doesn't say these things. Forgiveness is not saying, oh, I wasn't hurt. Yes, you were. You were hurt, weren't you? Forgiveness is not saying, oh, it's okay, it's okay. No, it wasn't okay. It's not saying that all is like it was before. Let's just go back to the way it was before. Any of you husbands and wives have ever been in a fight, you know that even after forgiveness, it's not like it was before. It is not excusing bad behavior. It's not saying, oh, well, we'll just let it go. Bad behavior needs consequences even when there's forgiveness. The men who killed the missionary's family and the missionary family forgave them still faced the death penalty. But they also could go there knowing that Jesus Christ saves them. Forgiveness is not saying that, oh, it wasn't important. It was clearly important. It's not taking part of the blame on yourself unless, of course, you deserve some of it. But it's not saying, oh, well, I was partly at fault when you weren't. And it's not saying that you have forgotten. Because let's be honest. When you've been in a fight with your loved one, how quickly is it easy to come up with something that happened 20 years ago? No matter how much you say, oh, I forgot about that, until I didn't. These things are not forgiveness, so let's not even worry about those. Here's what Jesus says, and this is our key verse for today. This is what I want you to go home with. And this is so difficult for us to accept, but these are the words of Jesus. If you forgive others their offenses, your heavenly Father forgives you as well. If you don't forgive others, your Father will not forgive you. Ouch. Now, we are saved by grace through faith, and we will argue as a denomination, we are saved by faith, not works. And this sounds like I got to do a work. This isn't a work. This is faith. This is trust that God will have his revenge. God will have his judgment. It is not mine to judge. It is not mine to revenge. And God created that person in his image, no matter what path they've taken, and Jesus died for them, and they can seek forgiveness just like you did. And if God has forgiven them or will forgive them, then you will too. That's faith, not works. And I look at over the times in my life where I have not really forgiven somebody, and I wonder, will I have an account for this before the Lord? The good news is that for everyone that I have not forgiven, and I kind of forgot about that, Jesus died on the cross for my sins. So that's going to get forgiven. But I kind of wonder about that active unforgiveness, that hatred, that revenge, that desire for someone to face trouble just because they lied to me. That I hope he dies just because they voted some way I didn't like. If you can't forgive others, you do not understand the forgiveness that God has given you. And if you cannot understand the forgiveness God has given you, how can you be thankful for what God has given you? If you haven't followed what I'm saying there, in other words, if you can't forgive others, there is no possibility of you being truly thankful to God, because you don't understand what he did for you. Because what I've done to God is unforgivable to most people. We must forgive in order to be forgiven. I'm not saying you have to be perfect in your forgiveness, because we're not perfect. I am saying that you have to work, desire to forgive those who have hurt you, because this is the Christ-like attitude. This is the desire of God from Genesis chapter 1 all the way to Revelation 21, that all are saved, all are forgiven. And if we cannot be a part of that, at least in our desire to forgive, we don't understand God and we don't understand Christ. Philip Yancey, if you've never read anything by Philip Yancey, he's an amazing writer, passed away a few years ago, I believe. And he wrote this great book, says, what's so amazing about grace? Everybody says, amazing grace, how sweet. But what's amazing about it? He says, forgiveness takes the harm of sin more seriously than does revenge. Forgiveness takes sin seriously. I thought it forgets it. No, it doesn't forget it. It actually takes sin more seriously by saying, you hurt me, and what you did was wrong, and I'm going to confront that with not holding it against you. I will not try to get back at you. I will not hate you for it. In fact, I'm going to work very hard at loving you and forgiving you and being your friend. Have you ever been forgiven by someone you didn't think was going to forgive you? This is actually much more serious than just having somebody hate you and want revenge against you. Sometimes I wanted my mom to give me the swats and the grounding rather than just give me the good talking to. Forgiveness takes sin more seriously. What else does it do? It also initiates the process. True forgiveness initiates forgiveness. You ever heard somebody say, well, I'll forgive them when they forgive me first? That's not forgiveness. That's, to coin a term that you might not have heard recently, that's a quid pro quo. Forgiveness says from the cross, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. Forgiveness says that before the earth was formed, Jesus Christ said to God, I will die for their sins. That's the book of Galatians right there, that before the earth was even made, God knew we would sin, and the part of him that is Jesus said, I'll just go down there and die for them and pay their price. They haven't even asked for forgiveness yet. Forgiveness initiates. Forgiveness is the one that says, I go to you who have not repented, have not said you've done anything wrong, and I say, I forgive you. And they throw it back in your face and they say, I don't have to be forgiven for anything. It doesn't matter. I forgive you for what you've done. They may never accept it, but remember Psychology Today for your own health? Remember Jesus for your own spiritual health. Forgiveness is initiated. It doesn't wait. Man and his wife one night have this horrible, horrible argument. Philip Yancey tells this story about this husband and wife. They have the knockdown, drag-out fight because the supper was no good. The food was horrible, and that's not how Mom made it. Oh, the heated argument. They go into the night, and it's time for bed, and they just sleep in separate rooms from then on. And for years, they sleep in separate rooms to where it becomes habit to sleep in other rooms, and it becomes normal. Each one going to bed every night, no longer arguing, acting like nothing happened, and wondering, when will the other one come to me and say they're sorry? Until living in separate rooms for so long becomes so normal that nobody even is waiting for a forgiveness. And yet it's hanging there in the fact that they're in separate rooms every night, still wondering, even subconsciously, when are they ever going to apologize for that? And in that lifestyle, the apology never comes. The same analogy can be found at workplaces where people don't forgive each other and just wait for somebody to move or be transferred or go to a different department or another job. Eventually you find that one day where you figure out, I'll never get forgiveness or be forgiven or give forgiveness because we're gone. We're separated. God's forgiveness does not wait for repentance. It initiates it and calls out repentance by offering forgiveness. We don't become Christians because just one day we decide, hey, I want to start following God, and then he reveals himself to us. No, we become Christians because first, Jesus loved us and died for us and reached out and said, I forgive you. And someday, in some place, we heard that message and our heart was broken and we had thanksgiving for what he has given us in that forgiveness that we did not ask for, we did not earn, and often we don't live up to. This is forgiveness, and this is what we need to give other people. We were forgiven first by Jesus Christ. We need to become people who practice forgiving first. I forgive you. It doesn't matter if you did it accidentally, if you did it on purpose. It doesn't matter if you hate me. I forgive you. It doesn't mean I'm admitting any wrong. It doesn't mean I won't forget. It doesn't mean that you're not a bad person. But I'm a bad person too, and I forgive you. I forgive you. Why? Because one of the soldiers of the cross, Longinus, watched Jesus die as he nailed or ordered the nails to be put into Jesus' feet and hands. And Longinus ordered the cross to be put up and put into the hole that it bounces, and Jesus is bouncing on those nails. And he watched Jesus bleed and suffer and cry out for hours. Longinus, according to tradition, is the man who took his Roman spear and shoved it into the side of Christ, and the blood and water came out. And Longinus is traditionally the man who looked like John Wayne and said, "This surely was the Son of God." If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. This surely was the Son of God. The man that I put nails in, the man that I put on the cross, the man that I stabbed him in the heart and bled him out. This man was the Son of God, and tradition tells us that Longinus became became a Christian and a leader in the Roman church. Because the man who killed Christ heard, "Forgive them, Father. They don't know what they're doing." And Longinus went to his grave loving Jesus Christ, who first loved him. Forgiveness is hard. You ever heard that phrase that nothing that's good is easy? Nothing that you can do, no job you can take on, no project is, if it's good, is it going to be easy? Anybody here ever tried to diet? Anybody here ever tried to be married 40 years? Was it easy? I was asking Charlie. Nothing good is easy. When God asks you to forgive that neighbor, that boss, that spouse, that relative, that in-law, that stranger, it is hard to say, "I will swallow my pride, I will restrict my rights." What American restricts their own rights? "I will keep my mouth shut," other than to say, "I forgive you." And again, not to say what you did was not wrong, not to say that you don't deserve punishment, not to say it was my fault, not to say I'm going to forget, but to say, "I will not hold this against you. I will not hate you or blame you in such a way that condemns you to a hell that I have no power to send you to." It's out of my hands. And there is nothing more difficult than realizing that something is out of your control, not something you can help or change or fix. So you give it up to God and say, "It's yours." That is hard when you've been hurt, when you've been blamed, when you've been lied against, or the truth has come out in the wrong way. But it's the good thing, because on the scientific, we already read, it makes us healthier. And on the spiritual, when we forgive, we are forgiven. And so, what does this all have to do with Thanksgiving? I've given you a taste. I've told you that if we don't forgive, that means we don't understand what we've been forgiven from. And if we don't understand what we've been forgiven from, we can't be thankful to the one who's forgiven us. Have you ever received a gift from somebody and you say, "Oh, that's cool," and you kind of tossed it away, and you find out later they were hurt because they spent hours making this gift for you? This is how we are with Christ. When we will not forgive others, it's like he has given us this great gift of forgiveness and eternal life, and we say, "Oh, that's cute," and we sell it at a garage sale. If we are not forgiving others, we do not understand what Christ has done for us. Therefore, this is logic, folks. I teach logic, remember? Therefore, we are not able to be truly thankful if we are not forgiving everyone of their smallest offenses at us, at the greatest offenses, not holding them accountable for things that we don't have no power over. Let me just put it in Scripture for you, if that helps. Luke 7 says, "Then turning towards the woman, he said to Simon the Pharisee," that's Jesus talking, "Do you see this woman? I entered your house, and you gave me no water to wash my feet, but she has washed my feet with her tears and wiped my feet with her hair. You gave me no kiss, but from the moment I came in, she has not ceased kissing my feet. You did not anoint my head with oil, but she anointed my feet with ointment. Therefore I tell you, her sins, which are many, are forgiven, for she loved much. But he who is forgiven little loves little." And he said to her, "Your sins are forgiven." Do you understand what he said here to Simon? But he who is forgiven little loves little. No one under Jesus Christ has been forgiven a little. Billy Graham has not been forgiven just a little. The Pope has not been forgiven just a little. Everyone has been forgiven greatly by the cross. And Jesus is saying, but he who thinks he has been forgiven a little loves a little. That's the context of everything Jesus has blamed this Pharisee for. You did nothing to show love. This woman has shown all kinds of love. She understands thankfulness, and therefore her sins are forgiven. Thankfulness and forgiveness and love are inseparable legs of the same table. Remove one and the table falls over. If we are not forgiving, we are not thankful. And it's in forgiving others, it is when we forgive others that we truly experience God. We talk about experiencing God in praise. The same logic applies. If you cannot forgive others, you do not understand how much you have been forgiven. Therefore, you cannot thank properly. And praise is a concept that is part of thanksgiving. God is deserving of praise for what he has done. We experience God because on the cross, in his pain and loneliness, Jesus says, I forgive. And if we want to have the Spirit of Christ, we will, in our pain and loneliness, say, this is hard for me to say to you, right? But I forgive you. This is what it is to experience God in faith. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for what you have done, but we do not understand much of it. We understand the drop in the ocean, the single raindrop in the storm of what you have done for us. Help us to understand forgiveness by forgiving others. And Lord, I know the danger of that. By being able to forgive others, you're going to put people that are unforgivable in my path. But Lord, teach me to pick up my cross like Jesus picked up his cross, so that I